Hello. You're the developer of Heart of Muriet. Real quickly, I'm Tatsu. I'm the lead developer or first founder of Heart Media and Sanctuary. But yeah, I want to hear about Heart of Muriet. So, what is Heart of Muriet? How big is the team? Tell me all about it.
Okay. I'm Matthias. I'm the developer of Heart of Muriet. Actually, the team is currently the development team is just one guy. It's me at the moment. Um, back in 2020, I had an artist for 1.5 years on the team, which was he brought the the art to a new level. Unfortunately, he left. So I'm back on making my art again myself. And there's one guy who's helping me with some PR and marketing. So we have been to Gamescom this year, and we were presenting on Indie Arena booth, and he was organizing the booth, right? So that was really nice. But other than that, yeah, that's the development team. So to Heart of Muriet, it's an RTS game, obviously because you're making interviews with people who are making RTS games, and the new approach on it is, I mean, it's voxel based, so there's not a lot of voxel games out there or RTS games with a voxel look, right? It's fantasy, and I think the main thing, it's not a classic RTS game. You can't select units, you can't micromanagement units, so that's different. And so let's say the inspiration is from Majesty. If you know that game, it's a little older. From Age of Empires, the gating system of Age of Empires, and let's say the resource system from StarCraft 2. So yeah, and this mixed together makes Heart of Muriet. There's still one micromanagement part. It's the spellcaster, which is very important. It's the wizard. So you can have 4 different magic schools. You can learn different magic in these schools, obviously, or different spells, and then use them as a spellcaster. That's the only micromanagement part in the game. Other than that, it's very heavy on base building and research, and you can still like give strategy orders to your troops. But yeah, that's about it. So that's
Does it have
yeah.
a big economy component?
Um, Well, it has some economy component. It's not very big. So there's 2 resources currently that might get a third resource soon. I'm not sure about this yet. Still trying things out. Um, and you have little, a base building thing where you have farms like in StarCraft, but you also can add a mill or a well, and this increases your output of the farms, right? So it's a very small mini games inside of the economy, but it's
Yeah.
not the main focus of the game as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The main focus is the hero, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's the main focus. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Or I should
the
call
spell
him
casting
a
part.
mage.
Yeah, it's a mage. It's the senior. So from the lore, right? It's the main or the class who is or the race which is superior to all the other races in Muriet. So they've actually enslaved the dwarves. They have an agreement with the elves and the humans, so they fight. These races fight for them. Yeah, and so they are powerful mages, really powerful mages. And so the key component, one of the key units is Usinir. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I notice, I can't help but notice you're wearing a Unity t shirt. Does this mean Heart of Muriet is made in Unity?
Yes, it is made with Unity. Yeah, it's you know maybe Unity is not the perfect engine for an RTS game, but they worked on, or they're still working on the on stuff which is not yet ready, but it's the dots system. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's you've heard about this, I guess, right?
Well, that's, basically what we're building all of Sanctuary on top of. But again,
All right. So I was a little too early for that system. So I was invited to Hack Week in 2018 by Unity, and that's why I got this T-shirt. And Dots was not finished. Obviously, it's still not finished there, but it had some interesting parts, and I was looking into it if I could use Dots for Heart of Muriet. Unfortunately, it was not possible for me because they changed the API all around every week or every month at least, right? So as a solo developer, I said, that's really nice what you're doing, Unity, but not for me this time, unfortunately. So I dropped it and went back to standard game objects. I've optimized a lot, and I can still use the job system, right, for optimizing stuff, what I'm doing, but dot system is not yet there for my, because I'm not so far from early access release. So obviously, that's the thing here.
Yeah. No, I completely understand it. The fact that it's like in a constant state of both deprecated and in development and without
Yeah.
documentation and oh you're using it, well you're not supposed to, so you're on your own. Yeah, it is really hard to work with, and we've taken the path of, well, we have to work with it, so that's what we're doing. But yeah, indeed, it is it is not an ideal situation. So yeah, I
That's
understand.
true. I mean, I can still have fights with 1 to 2K units in my game and 60 FPS with a machine which is 3 to 4 years old. And it's enough for the game I'm doing, I guess. But I will definitely utilize dots when it's coming out, and the job system more in the future, so that the performance will be even better. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I want to spread the word more about this because it's a bit underrated. But yeah, anyways, I wanted to ask. So, what's the full goal and scope of Heart of Muriet? What is your vision for Heart of Muriet?
So the vision is that I have actually a full-blown RTS game. My wish would be also to have multiplayer, but that's far off for me, to be honest. So I focus on the single player part at the moment, and I want to have, when it comes out, I want to have 2 full races or factions, 25 to 30 buildings each factions, 15 to 20 units each faction. Altogether, like, I have 4 magic schools now in, probably 6, maybe 8 magic schools. Around 200 research options. I've already 150 in, and like 80 spells altogether in these. Or probably when I get with 6 magic schools, probably more like 100, 120 spells, different spells. So it's quite a big thing. And there's a full-blown level editor. So that's one of the main parts. I've developed the level editor, with the same pace as I developed the game. So I spent probably the same amount of time on the editor than I did on the game. So it's in-game, right? It's not a separate tool. It's in-game, so you can test levels, and people can use it just right away.
Yeah, level
So
editors are really hard to make, but in RTS, it's really important if you want to develop a community around the game. It's very important that it has one. So yeah,
yeah,
very good
yeah,
choice.
agree, agree. Yeah, I mean, it. I'm not sure if I spent too much time on it already, but it's still, I couldn't, because I'm doing it most of the stuff on my own. As I said, I really need to test stuff, right? And testing stuff with the level editor is just a breeze. It's just add a few units, make this, make that, and test how it's going. I I could never do this game without the editor and the integration of the editor. And so I think it was a right choice. I know that it was a right choice to make a RTS game on my own, but but
Yeah, I
other than
mean,
that,
like
yeah, the editor is a good thing.
everyone who's in that who's in that specific niche of development, who's developing RTS, tells me, yeah, it's super hard, very challenging, and everything. And I don't think that's a reason to shy away from it. I mean, like, yes, it's challenging, but the payoff is, I think, almost proportional to the challenge, or at least for us, because we're really passionate about it. I guess this is, that's what it comes down to, is what you're passionate about is going to be what you want to do. And yeah, I think it. But anyways, like RTS really is often underrated, and it deserves another time in the sunlight, in the shining light, to really be appreciated by people again. So yeah.
Yes, and there's so many. I mean, I've been to Gamescom, right? And there's so many fans out there of RTS games. When they drop by on the and they play the game, and they like, they their eyes, like, I mean, they were like, oh my god, you have got an RTS here. I've never thought there would be at the indie booth, right, an RTS, and I found this pearl here, and I'm so, so people get really excited about it. But it's, it's still tough to this community is got smaller over time, right? I mean, back in StarCraft days, when StarCraft was big, or Warcraft, the community was really big. So now it has shrunk, and I hope, yeah, that at some point will grow again, right? Because there are more games out there, the more really cool games, like the games you're working on. I mean, it's more classic approach, and people love that, obviously, right? So yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. I want to, like, I guess you already went into this a bit, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper into, what you think makes Heart of Muriet unique. So yeah, could you explain some of that
Sure. So I removed the micromanagement part, right? And mainly because I'm not good at RTS games, even I love them. So the thing was that I thought, okay, RTS games are really complicated, right? If you have to micromanage every single unit, I've always forgot this worker on the side, which I recruited, but I've never used it because it's standard like outside of the map somewhere. So I thought that might be a good approach. And I played, as I said, Majesty, and so like, okay, this different approach, indirect controls of units. So I thought this is a good idea, and this is what it makes stand out. Obviously, there's you can't place your buildings on everywhere on the map. It has predefined spots. And before I went to Gamescom, I thought I'd probably remove that system because I was not sure if people would like it. But now I'm actually in doubt because people loved it. So they said, yeah, that's really cool. I don't have to find a spot. I can just use that spot and maybe move this around a little bit, but I don't have to care about it. Just place it, and you can double click, with a double click, you just place a building, and that's it. You don't have to care about where and
Yeah.
how to rotate it. And so it's,
What also
takes away
immediately
some
strikes me
complexity.
as a good idea there, in terms of gameplay, is the potential to force players into having to manage map control. You could be like, well, you want that building, sure, but you got to build it a little bit closer to the enemy and everything like that. And they're like, do I do it? Don't I do it? And then it becomes a strategy, right? So I think there's definitely some depth that you can dig into there.
Right, exactly. So it's base oriented as well. So that defeats the part that you just said. It doesn't work like that. So you can only currently, at least, build buildings on bases, and bases are where you can send units and attack bases and defend your bases. And you can place in the middle of a base, you can place a scenario or a wizard tower, and that's the where you can host your wizard, right? And the unique thing is that when you send a big formation to attack, you can actually incarnate your wizard onto the formation, right? So you have a mobile spellcaster in that regard. And you can use different spells when you're incarnated onto the wizard than when you're on your base. So at least that's the plan. It's not yet. You can use the same spells in the demo, but it's planned to have like different spells. There's also a kind of meta game I'm planning. It's not yet in the game, but it's planned out and designed. So card games are really big at the moment, and I think some of the features are really nice. And I've seen RTS games utilizing card mechanics. So what I want to do is like an orb system. I call them orbs. So you collect orbs over your missions, right? And then these orbs can be like buffs, debuffs for enemies. They can be special spells. They can be special buildings, maybe even. Or just bonuses, which you can take into the game and then use. And you can take an amount of cards, like 3 to 5, let's say, or maybe more, into the game, and then the mission plays differently, right? So that's an idea for the what stands out. And there's also some terrain manipulation already. So I have a lot of trees in the game, and you can burn them down with a fire spell, for example, right? And you can regrow the forest with a spell, or if you have nature and stuff like that. So I want to experiment with more like terrain manipulation in that regard. And yeah, I think that's the main features, which are different to standard RTS games. There's a lot more like smaller things, like how do you manage your workers, right? So you can't click on them and send them. So it's more like with sliders. Maybe not the most elegant solution yet, but developing solutions over time, and attack priorities, because you can't, again, manage your units. You can't say attack this or attack that exact building. So I have established kind of attack priorities. The UI for this is still a little bit clunky, but I wanted to make it more elegant with ring menus and stuff like that, so it's more accessible. Experimenting a lot with different things because I haven't seen it done before, so I have to try a lot of different things and iterate and see how the community reacts, how people on Discord say, I like this or hate it, and then adjust accordingly, right?
All right. Yeah, that's a lot of different features and everything. I quite like that. I find that interesting. I like the idea with the workers and everything. Like the idea with the spells and the building placement. That's all very interesting.
Nice.
And yeah, I think the whole combination of all those elements is indeed a completely novel. So that's quite a unique blend. So what if any are your hopes and dreams for Heart of Muriet?
Well, my hopes are that I make a game which players love, right? So that's which I love, obviously, because I'm doing it. I have to play it all the time, so it has to make fun. And yeah, that I make a game which the RTS community says, "Wow, you you know you made this game, and I had fun and I loved it, and I recommend to my friend because I think there's a new approach to an RTS game, and we need more RTS game in the space." So that's my dream, right? If people would love it. And there's one more hope, that I make enough money off the game. I don't want to get rich on it. I just want to have enough money to develop it over the next few years, so that I can say to my wife, "Look, it's working. I spent only 5 years, and I now earn money with it, right?" and this would be great because I spent so much time on the game. It would break my heart if I had to drop it at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to be able to live off your labor and everything, and that's only normal. In the video game world, that can be very difficult. Not a given. There's a lot of projects that don't even break even. So yeah, it's a huge risk to take on, and so I personally am in admiration of anybody who does take that risk. And
Lately, we got featured by Splattercat, so he played our game, which is awesome, and we made some new cool wish lists on that. And so we are now over 1,000 followers on Steam. I know that's not a lot for a lot of games, but for us, it's awesome, right? So we have a followership. We have a few people on Discord now as well. We're going to the 150 around. It's not too much, but we're starting to develop a community, and we're still a way to go to the full release of the game. So there's a good chance that we might launch with 20K wishlists, the early access, and that's my hope. This would be the minimum, to be honest. So I would probably not release the game below that amount, because it's thought to fail, kind of, right?
Yeah, I understand.
So, and it
You want to break
seems
even at
to,
least.
yeah, at least 20K, right? So that's what I mean. Sure, there's so many games in the space, in the strategy space, not RTS space, but in the strategy space, who are just more favored by players at the moment. So yeah, that's where we are fighting against, kind of, not fighting, but compete against, right? So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. So how far along are you? That's probably a related question.
Yeah. So I think you can play the demo now, and the demo is in a very good shape, I would say. You can play all the stuff I said, just not all the units, not all the buildings, but there's in the demo is already 25 different buildings. There's 8 different units. There's 4 different magic schools. You can play in the demo the tutorial, full blown tutorial. There is 3 campaign maps you can play, small campaign maps, but still, I think it's still 4 to 5 hours playtime. Depending on your skill, it might be a little less. So if you're a really experienced RTS gamer, it's probably 2 to 3 hours. And there's a map editor included. It's not very stable at the moment, to be honest. So if you don't know how to use it, it's hard to use. I have to make a tutorial at some point for the map editor. But other than that, it's very, very playable at the moment, and you can judge, is that something for you or not, right? In terms of the future, we're planning early access in August 2023, and full release, well, end of 2024, but it might also get later. Yeah, depends on how things are going, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm personally impressed that it's already that far along. There's this much that you can try out. So yeah, hats off to that.
Thank you.
If it's all right with you, I'd like to ask what's your background? What have you done before Heart of Muriet?
Sure. I've actually started out in 1994, doing my first game. So I'm over 50 now. I've worked on over 50 games. So I've studied computing in the 90s, and then found my own company in 1995. I think 1995. I found my own company with a few people together.
Was it a video game company?
Yeah. I started out
Cool.
with it. I've done video games my whole life, actually.
Wow.
So and yeah, I loved it. The first game, it's Area Wave. You even can find it on Wikipedia. It was released 1994 by Donglever, I think, was the company who released it, a publisher, and it was written in assembler completely, 286
Wow.
assembler, right? I learned it from a friend, right? So, and he made games, and I learned from him. I studied with him, so that was very helpful. So I got in the scene. We found this company, and then I've been in the space for that time. I've been different kind of roles. I've been the programmer, the project manager, the game designer. I've been in management roles like the studio head or development director or technical director on companies I've found. So my biggest company I've co-founded was Flare Games in Karlsruhe. We did mobile games it started 2011. And I dropped out when we were over 100 people. And I sold my shares. I didn't only had 2%, so I was not like the rich guy, right? And yeah, so I actually got back to my roots now. So I started as an indie developer in 1996, kind of.
Yeah.
or 1994. And then in 2015, end of 2015, I started, because I didn't want to rob people by making mobile games, free to play mobile games, right? I was not able to do this anymore. It
Yeah.
just felt bad
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
point. And I thought, I want to do games which I love and people love, and they pay once and then they can play forever. So that's my approach. I don't want to rob people of their money just because the industry can do it. I hate this. So yeah, and then I dropped out into end of 2015. Did two games with a friend, still mobile games, because I was used to that space kind of. But I realized very fast that if you don't do free to play, or free to play in a way that it's been unfair, you won't earn any money. So I thought, okay, let's get into the real PC games, get into strategy games, because that's what I love. And I started prototyping the game, right? Into end of 2000, oh sorry, start of 2017. I started developing Heart of Muriet. So Wizard Tower was the working title in 2017. Yeah, so that's my background.
All right. Yeah, it is really a sad state that the game market is in, where like you have people like us, where it's evidence that like we're really not doing it for the money, because if we were, we wouldn't have the strategy that we do at all. And then you have the people who are actually winning, who are beating us just up and down the court, because well, the free to play slash pay to win, or just simply free to play model, at least when you have the initial investment to lay down, is just well, on an economic level, fundamentally better, right? And but yeah, from an artwork and from a passion point of view, it just scores zeros across the board. And I guess at a certain point you have to be like, well, what's important to me? And I think it's important to say this. Yeah, it's important to say this, because the public, one day or another, has to be educated on this as well, if they are going to make the choice, when they have to make the choice to back the people that are making pay once model, and even if it's expensive or whatnot, they got to understand it's nowhere near expensive as what they would spend over time with free to play. So yeah, that's my little rant on that. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, all good. I mean, yeah. To be fair, there's some free to play games out there, like League of Legends or Dota, which were really fair, right? Or Path of Exile. So there are some games which I would say they have a fair free to play model, but they're really, you can count them on one hand or two hands maybe. That's it,
Yeah.
and all the others are really scam.
Yeah,
So
I mean, like
yeah.
even in that case, like a lot of them may have started out as the other model, so that's why they carry that kind of DNA, right? In how they're made and everything. Others mask it incredibly well to the mask the awfulness very very well, to a point where nobody can really tell. Anyways, I digress. I think we're getting a little bit off topic, but this is very interesting. I think that like really this should be a debate that is brought to the gamers of the world, and that we really have this conversation. Anyways, I wanted to also ask, is all that you said about like your background and everything, does that explain your Heart of Muriet's origin? Is that its cause for being? Is there more to what motivated you to make this game?
Well, I started playing Warcraft when I found this company in 1996. We were playing Warcraft all day long, right? So besides developing our games, we spent the nights playing Warcraft, and I had always a love for RTS games. So I was never really good at them. That's for sure. But I loved them, and I loved how they were made, how the passion of the developers in that, in that regard. And if you look at Command and Conquer, if you look at Z, or Dune, there were so many really cool RTS games, right, made in that time. That was my gaming, so where game most. And so I have this into my DNA, kind of, that these games were like normal at this time, right? And you can still play them, obviously, but there's some modern games out there, like Age of Empires 4 doing a great job, and StarCraft 2 is a little older, obviously, but there are great games out there, but there's not so many to choose from anymore. And I thought it's a good space. I could try myself out. I love challenges as well. So I love hard games. That's also like added to that, right? And then again, yeah, I was never really good at the microing part, so I thought that's a good opportunity. I mean, there are games out there who are trying to mitigate that problem already with another approach, and they were quite successful as well. I tried to do something different. So obviously, I can't compete to the games out there like StarCraft or Age of Empires because I'm on my own. So I had to try something new as well, right? I knew that if I would like just make a plain simple classic RTS games, I would have a really hard time to make this like people would love to have it. So I thought I could do something different, and people might like it or might not. And I have really got different feedback from really experienced RTS players loving the game, hating the game, like, why can't I control my units? That's awful. And others said, well, I can't control them, but somehow it really feels well, and it feels well made, and it's a different approach. I love it. So there's not this like, yeah, all perfect, but it's, I never thought that would happen. So I think I'm on the way, so that it could work out. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that like the fact that you've already built up a community around it and a wish list around it, I'm assuming, without a previous community to necessarily build from and everything, I'm finding that very impressive. So I think that speaks volumes to the potential for Heart of Muriet.
Thanks.
Yeah. What would your advice to an aspiring game dev be?
Maybe don't start with RTS games.
The second time in a row I've gotten this answer.
No, I mean, that's actually not true. You can make an RTS game. There are, I forgot to mention 2 RTS games which actually inspired me as well, and they're really simple. The one is Mushroom Wars, right? I mean, it's very simple, but it's lovely. It's good. It has a good approach. And Circle Empire is the same thing, right? So these 2 RTS games are very simple, but they're good. They're fun, and you can make them as an aspiring developer. So, but my advice would be actually doing game jams, doing as much game jams as you can, getting good at your language, at your programming language you prefer to, right? It doesn't matter which kind of language you're doing, and get good at your engines. Is it Godot? Is it Unreal? Or is it Unity, or whatever engine you're using? Maybe don't program your own engine as well.
Yeah,
But
that's another good piece
yeah, I
of
mean,
advice.
it's yeah. I mean, there's people who want to learn how to program an engine. Fair enough. Let's do. But you don't doing a game then, right? You're doing an engine, right? Not a game. So, but yeah. Other than that, I think what I learned most was when I was doing game jams, because you had to have a scope which was doable in a week or 2 days or 3 days or whatever, how long uh, it would go. You had to, it had like kind of constraints, right? So you had to like, for a theme or a certain kind of genre or whatever it is, the game jam is about. So I recommend really doing game jams as much as you can. So because you learn the most, and not doing on your own, but do it with people you like. Do with developers around the world. You can do this now, yeah, right? So it's not an easy. It's an easy thing to do. You will learn so much. That's incredible, right? Yeah.
All right.
So,
Thank you. So yeah, now's the time where you tell us where we can find Heart of Muriet. You can tell us all about what links they should check out.
there's a demo on Steam, as I said. So if you want to, I'm not sure if you want to bake the project, just invest a few hours playing the game. There's a Discord channel. It's also linked either on Steam or in the game as well, the Discord channel in the demo. And we have a Twitter account where we post regular updates. So yeah, that's the main 4 socials we use. Yeah. Otherwise, it would get too much for a single guy right here for me, right?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll have those links up in the description of the video. Give them some support.
But only if you like the game, obviously.
All right. Well, it's been great. Thank you so much for answering my questions, and I hope to see you on this channel again. Yeah, goodbye.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.